questions. On December 4th, after the committees had written to the Commandant requesting that he testify at today's hearing, the committees received letters from Rear Admiral Melissa Burt, the Coast Guard's Director of Governmental and Public Affairs. In the letter to Chairwoman Maloney, Rear Admiral Burt states that you, Vice Admiral McAllister, are, quote, the most appropriate witness for our hearing today. Vice Admiral, and I'd also like to take a moment to just thank you for coming in today. We are sincerely appreciative of the time that you are taking out and the effort that you're taking out to prepare for today's hearing. But that being said, could you illuminate for us, what did Rear Admiral Burt mean when she stated that you were a more appropriate witness than Admiral Schultz? In what ways are you more qualified than the Coast Guard's Commandant to speak about the Coast Guard's policies and procedures on harassment, bullying, and retaliation?
Madam Chairwoman, I would just offer to you, and I consulted with the Commandant on this. As a service chief, he has a lot of responsibilities. He has assigned me the responsibilities of delivering a diversity, action, and equity plan for the entire Coast Guard and for, more specifically, for the Coast Guard Academy. So, as an example, just last week, the Commandant and I together presented our draft diversity and inclusion plan for all of the senior leaders in the entire Coast Guard. We brought them all together, and that was agenda item number 1. And so he is absolutely committed to it. But he's got a lot of things that tear at his time. He's got a lot of strategic priorities for the service, and he asked me, with my portfolio and with my understanding of the detailed policy and procedural issues, which really is the work of a staff, to represent him here today.
Would you be able to illuminate for us why the both of you could not come when it was just you?
Well, my understanding, and I'm not sure, I haven't laid eyes on the rule myself, but it's common practice within our department that I know of that we provide a single witness to a hearing.
I understand. So I have a copy here of the Coast Guard's anti-discrimination and anti-harassment policy statement. It's up here. Can you tell me who signed that statement?
That is signed by Admiral Schultz, our current Commandant.
And here is the Coast Guard's equal opportunity policy statement. Can you tell me who signed that?
That's also signed by our Commandant.
So with utmost respect, I would have assumed that since the Commandant signed these two policies, he would have the most knowledge and assume the highest responsibility for their enforcement and implementation on how they work. And I think one of the questions and one of the concerns that we have is that it may not just be limited, to one area. This is a question of the entire Coast Guard. And I'm surprised to hear that the Commandant is issuing policies that he is not able or willing to make time to discuss with Congress. Vice Admiral, how many times in the past has the Commandant been invited to a congressional hearing that he has refused to attend?
Ma'am, I'm not aware of any. I'm happy to provide additional information for the record.
So this is the first time that the Commandant has refused to attend a congressional hearing. How many times in the past has the Director of Governmental and Public Affairs responded to a request from a congressional committee for testimony from the Commandant by telling the requesting committee that an officer subordinate to the Commandant is more appropriate of a witness than the Commandant himself?
I'm not sure I have the full visibility on the correspondence back and forth from a congressional affairs perspective to answer that question. I will offer, both the Commandant and I have only been in our positions for about 18 months now, so that's the window that I can use to judge for you.
I completely understand, and I thank you, but I do think it's important to assert that this may be unprecedented, at least in recent history, for a Commandant to refuse to attend a congressional hearing. And that refusal today is disappointing to this committee. And it only seems to, from what we can infer, that lack of presence seems to essentially suggest and reaffirm about the command environment in which Lieutenant Commander Young McLear suffered and perhaps has suffered retaliation for making allegations of harassment and bullying. And I think that that is what that absence here today is difficult for us to square. But once again, I want to state my gratitude for you coming here today, and it is in no means a disrespect to you or your service, and I thank you for you taking that time to testify today.